Hello and welcome to another episode of the Podcast of Terror, a production of Galactic Nutcasts. For more on this podcast, including show notes, content information, and subscription links, go to gncasts.com/pot, P-O-T, your favorite leisure time activity. For the other shows from Galactic Nutcasts, go to gncast.com. You can contact us by leaving a message at 805-328-3966. Record a voice message on our website, gncast.com, or email us at pot@gncasts.com. Subscribe to this podcast via iTunes. And if you like what you hear, please leave a 5-star rating, rate a review. Tell us how much you love or hate us. Corey's silky smooth soprano voice. We are also on Stitcher Smart Radio, and you can leave a comment on the episode there as well. All subscription options and links can be found under the subscribe tab on gncasts.com. As always, Corey Big Spork Scott. Hi. Your pimp name. We came up with that one a little earlier. Corey's
yeah, we did. And like me in a Speedo, that announcement was a little front heavy, wasn't it? That was kind of a lot of information.
I got halfway through, and I'm like, I hope people enjoy being shit directly on top of their face at the beginning of an episode with information.
Yeah, it's a new year and a new try for us to try to get some, I don't know, content feedback, maybe? Is that what it sort of is?
Yeah, and we did put out an episode last week, but it was actually recorded like 3 weeks ago in a drunken haze.
Yes, we've still been in recovery since the recording of the episode.
Yeah, I had to take a couple weeks off after that one. I actually have a really good friend of mine who listens to this religiously now. He was essentially live tweeting the episode to me as we were recording it. And I'm like, boy, am I glad you are telling me what I did, because I don't remember these things.
Yeah, Gregor from Elts Nerds also was listening live as we were doing it and enjoys the fact and keeps bringing it back up that Matt Vincent referred to him as a dick.
Yep. I think he told him to eat a dick.
Yeah, that's right.
Something regarding a dick and Gregor. Gregor dicks.
Two great tastes that go great together.
Yeah. So with, like Corey said, it's 2016. So happy New Year 2 weeks later. Because that's kind of how it's been. So
I'm still writing 2007 on my checks because that's the last time I wrote a goddamn check.
I had to write my mom a check earlier today because I'm going to admit I was being a shitty son, and I chose not to go get her cash, thinking I could just prolong paying her back for some beer she brought me. And then she's like, just go ahead and write me a check. I'm like, well, let me fucking find my checkbook that's underneath my TI-83 calculator.
I think those are still in use. Have you ever noticed that the calculators have not changed in like the last 20 years?
No, I mean, TI-83, I'm looking this up.
They haven't advanced at all.
No, I saw something on Reddit not that long ago that they're roughly the same. They look the same. They probably do the same exact things. They're not even color. They haven't even made color calculators.
Yeah. Well, speaking of looking the same and doing the exact same thing, Angus Scrimm passed away. That's a horrible thing to say about a dude.
Yeah, that was a really shitty segue. I was going to ask you how your New Year was and what resolutions you made, and you just want to talk about someone who died.
I want to talk about Angus Scrimm because he was the tall man from the Phantasm movies. And yeah, it's a little sad. I saw the announcement late last night and I posted it onto our Slack channel. And I think I'd just seen recently that they were redoing or restoring the Phantasm movies.
What is it? Phantasm is being restored. It is being overseen by J.J. Abrams, who owns the world right now.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
I've never seen Phantasm, but that should be of no surprise to anyone that listens because I missed the boat on a lot of things.
We are not informed.
No, we're fucking so terrible. I am still surprised that people listen to this.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing Phantasm 2 in the 80s when it came out. And I don't know that I could tell you anything about what story it was trying to build upon from the original Phantasm, but I do have a Phantasm 2 shirt, actually, that I should have worn today in honor of him. It's a weird film. It's a bizarre little thing. What I remember mostly are these little sphere balls running around and stabbing people in the face.
Interesting. In honor of Phantasm, I'm drinking a beer called Hell, which comes from Minnesota in honor of their shanked field goal to lose the playoffs.
Is that really in honor of anything, or is it just in honor of you wanting a beer?
I really wanted a beer.
Yeah.
Dick.
Speaking of things built on lies, also this week we found out that the Tales from the Crypt series is coming back.
I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, with M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong.
Well, yeah, he's a toolbox, but I'm still really excited for this.
He's the toolbox. It's funny because he's only got one thing in his toolbox, and it happens to be, surprise, here's water. But
you know what's really funny is the movie that we watched, the end of it. I was curious if M. Night Shyamalan had anything to do with this movie. We'll talk about it in like 5 minutes, but you need to circle back to that comment. That is your mission. You need to drive the boat.
All right. People are kind of like, there's a mix of, oh, great, Tales from the Crypt is coming back, and oh shit, M. Night's in charge of it. But he only gets half-hour episodes, and being in charge of it doesn't necessarily mean that he's writing and directing every episode.
Are you really that surprised that if someone was to bring it back right now, that it's M. Night Shyamalan?
He wouldn't have been my first guest to take it over. But again, like you were saying earlier, it's J.J. Abrams is restoring Phantasm. It seems like there's a small collective of people that are in charge of everything. Like there's a Benghazi movie that's coming out this week that's from Michael Bay. And who thought Michael Bay was going to be doing something based on real events from recently?
Who would you have guessed that would have done it, though?
I don't know. I would have imagined maybe a script by Aaron Sorkin and done by... Who did Born on the 4th of July? Why can't I think of that guy's name right now?
And
JFK.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking it up because it's going to drive me nuts.
It's Sunday. We're wide awake and ready for this.
I'm really excited. I have a short week full of meetings. Oliver Stone.
Stone, right? Yeah, absolutely. That's who I would have thought would have done a Benghazi film.
Yes, but going back to my point,
just doing a documentary about it and making up a whole bunch of shit.
The old document, and a valid comment in the midst of everyone's going on documentaries right now. True crime documentaries are the hotness at the moment.
Yeah. But that's someone else's podcast. That is not me.
No, not at all. I think there's whatever. Yeah, let's not get into that. I have enough people ask me those questions. I grew up just south of where it happened, so referring to Making a Murder. So a lot of times people are like, "So what do you think happened?" I'm like, I don't fucking care a whole lot. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I've moved past. Now I'm trying to watch Gallivant. Yeah, there's a new Crypt Keeper. I don't remember if we talked about that. That was a lot of squirrel revolutions going in my brain.
Well, is it a new Crypt Keeper, or is it just new episodes of the show? And are they bringing the Crypt Keeper back? I mean, that was kind of it was an 80s, 90s thing of having that guy, the puppet, be the introduction to the show and everything, and that was based off of the introduction in the comics. But
so
actually still going to be a part of it.
What was it, a week ago or whatever? They confirmed that Tales from the Crypt is coming back with M. Night Shyamalan. The news article that I found today was that M. Night confirms that there's a new Crypt Keeper for the new Tales from the Crypt. Now, so do I. I love him. However, he claims that the new host will be cool and dark.
Okay, yeah, that's what he's claimed about his movies, and fuck that dude. But I'm just saying, it's
the new
better
show,
than Avatar or The Last Airbender.
The new show will be highlighted by an old man with a cane wearing a hood and keeping warm by a fireplace. This is faithful more to the 1972 movie and the original comics. I don't know. For nothing more than the nostalgia, I'll probably be pretty into this. I love Outer Limits and stuff too when I was a kid. So this,
Yeah, getting the anthology series, especially an anthology horror series, should be interesting. It will hopefully be good.
yeah. Don't fuck this up, Ding Dong.
Yeah. Speaking of not fucking it up, hey, here's the white man business for the episode.
Get white.
So we have a Patreon. You can help the Galactic Netcast pay for our web and audio hosting by supporting us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Galactic Netcasts and pledge as little as $1 a month, or you can go to $3 and you'll get our newsletter once a month with extra stories related to all of our podcasts. Or for $5, you can get an extra episode of each of our podcasts available exclusively to our patrons. This is a new thing. We're trying it out. We did a big meeting about it over the holidays, and we would like to give you more content, and we would like to better the network. And so that's what this is supposed to do. But we're not just here to cost you money. We're here to save you money. So at the same time, if you like cool shit and cool shirts specifically, you can visit a couple of our sponsors. One of them is Stratosphere Merch at stratospheremerch.com and use the coupon code TERROR, TERROR, for 15% off your entire order. Matt, don't you have some shit over there?
In this room, no. I'm wearing a hate hat right now.
No, I mean, in the future, don't you have stuff on the site?
Oh, shit. I don't know. I don't know if we're printing John the Lifeguard shirts, but I don't know if they're up there. The Sky and the Execution CD is up there, which you should buy, I guess. That CD is almost 10 years old now.
Yes. What didn't make a recent appearance online?
It did. Matt Vincent used one of the songs. He gave me a bunch of shit for it because it's technically copyrighted, but we own the rights. But because YouTube flagged it as copyrighted, it wouldn't let him monetize the video, so he was giving me a bunch of shit for it because he won't get paid. And I'm like, fucking fill out the form. I will tell YouTube you can use it. I own those rights. But yeah, I used the song after that. Which
well,
is cool.
To maybe give a little back to Matt Vincent, he's another one of our sponsors on the episode. So you can go to his site at thehate.com, THEHVIII.com, and use the code KICK15 for 15% off your order there. Also some cool shit, including a Kick Today in the Dick mug that I really want, and the wonderful noggin-bearing hat that Matt is wearing right now with the 2 guns on it. It's actually pretty sweet.
It's super warm, and the fact, like I told you before, it's 3 degrees out, so yeah, actually has really comfortable clothing. I have a lot of shirts. I do have the Kick Today in the Dick mug, which I was drinking out of this morning, and the Contigo travel mug, which I take to work, and this girl I work with, the first 3 times I brought it in was like, "Does your cup say HIV?" I'm like, no, you're done. She's a gentle soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
These Contigo mugs are pretty good. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can join our Facebook group. The Galactic Netcast have a Facebook group. We don't, but we do have our own Twitter now, which is Podcast of Terror. And I have no idea what
you're on Instagram, which has 1 picture or something. Because I promoted Corey to the vice president executive in charge of social media.
Yeah,
and gave 20% raise,
which means nothing because 1, I'm not social, and 2, I'm not getting paid.
Not my problem. It's your job.
That's true.
Yeah, and before we get into the movie, I feel like we should briefly tell our listeners about the Trivia Geeks contest that just happened between you and I.
Oh, okay. Fuck off. I mean, sure. Why not?
I can't hear you through the butthurt of your loss.
That's a spoiler. Yeah, so all I can say is I was really sick, and I relied very heavily on my partner through the game and did him no favors.
All shit talking aside, it was a ton of fun. If you like trivia, or it's a really interesting. I don't even know what word I'm looking for. It's interesting over there. It's 2 hosts and they bring on special guests. A future episode, I'm not sure the release date, had Corey and I against each other. Carrie likes to get drunk and have fun, and Michael seems very serious about it, but he's still a super fun guy. I can't wait to go back on the show.
Yeah, it was a real fucking blast. And
but if you got 2 hours to kill, listen to Trivia Geeks. You can learn a lot. I learned some stuff about myself. It was a coming of age tale in my opinion.
The Mystic Rain Man powers that you displayed.
Or he gets really sad, and I'm like, I just black out, and when I come to, I get things right.
Yeah,
So-
you're like channeling the robot that was on Jeopardy. It was a little weird and frightening, but it was also a great time. Sean, who runs Trivia Geeks, is actually in charge of a new podcast that's starting on Collecting Netcasts. He's going to be doing our X-Files podcast with the Sun coming up. So that's another reason to check it out and check him out.
Yeah. And everything Corey said. Let's talk about a fucking movie.
Let's talk about a goddamn movie. So this movie was actually suggested to us by Lucy, who was our first fan mail. We mentioned her back.
I actually printed it off and framed it, Lucy. I'm sorry, I just lied to you. I didn't mean to. But it's still really cool that you took the time to email us.
Yeah, we still appreciate it. And it gave us an excuse to watch this movie, which is a movie that I saw in the theater. And in a weird moment of recognition, I decided to see this and I dragged my wife to it, even though I knew that it was going to be something that she wanted to see. She hadn't heard about it yet, and I wanted to get it out there before she got any spoilers about it. So we went to see It Follows when it came out, and that's what this movie is today.
So this is totally a movie that I had intended on seeing and kind of forgot about, and I'm so glad that we watched it. I've had friends of mine who listen to this episode or this podcast who are always like, "Ooh, you hate everything you watch." Not this time. I really liked this movie because it was dark as fuck. But for anyone who has not seen it, it is essentially about something. I don't think they ever really do a good job of explaining what it is, but it follows you. And the only way to pass it on is to make sweet, sweet whoopee with someone. But if you bang someone and then it kills that person, then it just starts to come after you again. So essentially, it's always coming after you.
You never feel safe.
No.
Yeah, and I don't know that they didn't explain it well. I think it may have been left purposely ambiguous.
I part of me thought that they did that because they want to make a sequel or a prequel. I forgot to look to see if there's any follow-up happening.
There's definitely talk about it because it was successful. It did very well for being a small independent film. I think it made $40 million on a $2 million or so budget. It was not a huge release or anything, but it did better in the theaters to the point where in the first week when they thought they were going to release it at the same time on demand, they found that it was succeeding enough in the theater that they just wanted to keep it in the theater, and so they delayed that.
Which, speaking of the amount of money movies make, in the last episode we talked about Jack and Jill being a turd and how I was surprised it could make any money. We did get an email from Jeff Cutshaw who explained kind of how movies quote unquote make money. So even if they're in the green by numbers, they're technically still probably in the red. So I sleep better at night knowing that Jack and Jill still did not make any money and it's still a pile of shit.
Yes. Thank you for emailing us about turds.
Makes me feel better about myself. But yeah, so I think it's weird. I watched this movie yesterday morning, like by myself. It was like 9 a.m, and I'm watching weird pornography horror because there's a lot of banging going on based on the concept of the movie. But
there is sex in this, but there's not overtly.
No, you could tell like towards later in the movie, she's just having sex with people to get rid of it, or they're trying to help her. So it's not like sexy sex; it's like shame sex.
It's like, help me out, help a sister out.
Yeah, which is weird. She had like 2 guys that are like, "I'll take it from you."
But that's what the guy that passes along to her says. He's like, yeah, I had to go and try to get somebody into me to sleep with me and everything. You should have no problem go in and banging this out. You should be able to find somebody real easy. Look at you.
So I was trying to think of if this happened to me, what would be the quickest way to get it far away from you? And it was funny because I was like, why not just go bang a prostitute, because it would leave you and be onto at least one other person within hours, maybe half a day. And then shortly thereafter, it's that wienery guy is driving around what I presume is 8 Mile, trolling for some street gash. And he clearly is too big of a pussy to bang one out, so he failed.
No, I think that I think it's implied that he did it, but it also was implied that she had sex with the 3 guys on the boat.
Yeah,
it's implied but never actually stated. And
well, after she sees it again, but then again, it could have. I don't know, because last scene, it won't go into the pool until it gets shot in the head and it falls in.
They get it, around, and that's the thing is the imagery and some of the symbolism in this movie. It comes up in a lot of different ways, and one is that it seems like she's constantly being attacked, or people are being attacked near water, or there's pictures of water that are shown on the screen. The other thing is that normally there is something to do with a ball involved when the creature shows up, the red ball that shows up right after she first starts to have the sightings of it. That happens throughout it, and also the color pink keeps popping up. It's one of those things that you don't think of when you're watching it, but if you start to read into what some of the other theories and stuff for the movie, you can pick up on it really fast. So I was watching with those kind of ideas this time through. The other thing is that the creature travels by walking and seems to actually move at a pace of walking. So if you travel far away and go to a prostitute in the Philippines or something, I guess, then it may give you a better chance of it not showing back up at your door for at least some time.
Which, I mean, obviously you never see it walk into water, do you? Out of water?
No, you see it get people that are near water, but it doesn't seem to go towards the water. In fact, there's a point where her pool gets destroyed.
Yeah.
Towards the end, and I wonder if that had something to do with it, or why the pool got wrecked.
I thought I just missed something.
Yeah,
I thought I missed the pool getting wrecked. But if you go look at it this way, if it cannot traverse water, why not just fly to a different continent?
Live in an island.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, is that what is the cutoff point for this thing? And how far back down the line does it go? And can it go? Because people at some point will start to die of natural causes too. So when it gets to a point where it's killed enough people and then there's nobody left, what does it do? How does it start up again? There is talk of a sequel, and those are things that might be answered in the sequel. They have said maybe have the main character Jay or one of the other characters go backwards and try to find where this started and why it started.
Well, there's guaranteed an origin story somewhere that they want to tell.
It would seem like that's something they could do, but not everything needs that. And this is kind of our argument of where horror is today as opposed to where horror came from, is that the mystery of this creature is, I think, very compelling. And I think the fact that they finished the movie in a contrite way of the main character lives. There is something that's walking behind Jay and Paul at the end that people suspect is the creature following them, but it doesn't have the same characteristics of the creature in the other times that it's walking behind them or walking towards them. It gets distracted from just looking strictly at them. It's actually wearing shoes, whereas the rest of the times it's shown up, it is not worn footwear. So the question becomes, did they actually kill it in the pool? They go on, she has sex with Paul at the end, and then Paul goes and presumably has sex with the prostitutes, but we don't actually see the creature after the pool scene, after it appears as her father and is kicking all the electronic things at her in there. So it may be that they did defeat it.
Well, you're kind of left to assume that when they're walking down the street and someone shows up walking behind them. In my opinion, you're kind of left to assume that that was it coming at them.
Well, that's the thing, is that you're left to assume that. I mean, it leaves it open, but an openness is to me more interesting than a final, drag you down to hell or kill
This
everybody, or the creature comes popping out of the water at the end.
this movie is worse than a woman because it never tells you exactly what it's thinking.
Which is why it's just as interesting as a woman. I loved this movie. I also love the fact that as I'm watching it, I'm recognizing a lot of the places that are being filmed, and I realized, oh crap, this whole thing happened in Detroit.
Yeah,
That was before they started making things about 8 Mile and stuff. From the beginning, I was just, this all looks really familiar, and then it kind of goes on from there.
and they never really come right out and say that it's Detroit until what, 3/4 through the movie when the girl's talking about how she was told she could never go past 8 Mile or whatever.
Because that's where it goes from being the city to being the suburbs and everything. So in the suburbs, you're okay, but once you walk over into the city part, it's a completely different world, and that's true. I mean, that I grew up in Detroit. That's all of that seemed very familiar and spot on. It's different now than it was when I grew up, but it's still pretty bad.
You grew up in a suburb though, right?
No, I grew up in Detroit as well. I was born in Detroit, and my dad lived in Detroit, so I would be there on the weekends. And I lived in a suburb of Detroit during the weekdays. But yeah, I rode my bike around there. I lived around there. My grandmother worked for the public school system and everything. My mom and my dad both worked for the city. So yeah, it was all incredibly familiar to me. I liked the part where the Yara character was talking about how she wanted to go to one of the festivals in Detroit, and she wasn't able to go because, it's the bad part of town and everything, and didn't make sense to her as a kid. But I went to those things, with family, but that's just how it was. So to me, it was just instant familiarity. It also, the film does a great job of not really giving you a specific time of when it's taking place. The TVs that are in it are all tube TVs and have rabbit ears on them, which I don't believe even really work anymore. But there's also, one of the characters is using a compact that is an e-reader that a lot of people have looked for and wanted to buy, and they don't actually make it. It was made specifically for the film.
Yeah, there's no mention of the year. Do they have cell phones?
The first scene with the Annie character,
Yes.
she uses a cell phone to call her dad when she's at the beach, and
they never say if that's in the past or the present.
Right. Yeah, it's very ambiguous. The whole movie is done specifically in that way, so it's not supposed to be just a here and now thing. It could be at any time. And I think, again, that adds to the charm of the film, is that it doesn't make a lot of statements. It's about what this story is. The theater that they went to had that kind of old-timey feel to it, although it exists. Theater where you go and you watch a movie and there's somebody who's actually an organist doing music before the movie starts. That seems straight out of the past. Anytime they were watching TV, it was almost always black and white sci-fi films that do make statements towards stuff that's happening in the movie. But overall, it just seems like it could be taking place anywhere from the 70s on up. And the 70s aspect of it, I mean, this movie gets a lot of, and I think very fair comparisons to Halloween, and a lot of comparisons to Nightmare on Elm Street.
I was trying to think of like how how you could compare it.
The stalker aspect, the figure wandering through that no one's really seeing, especially out at school, is very close to the original Halloween. Also, the main character's name is Jay or Jamie, named after Jamie Lee Curtis, and her sister, I forget what the sister's name is. Kelly. Jamie Lee Curtis actually has a sister named Kelly. And the first character killed is Annie, and Annie is one of the characters from the original Halloween. At the same time, there are scenes that seem like they're straight out of Nightmare, including the scene where the guy across the street, Greg, gets killed in his bedroom. It was just kind of right out of the Johnny Depp scene. And those are good homages without being blatant.
Being murdered by sexy time with his mom.
Yeah, that was way creepy. That was kind of messed up.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. A bit uncomfortable, if you will. I really liked this movie. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you for the recommendation.
All of these actors and actresses haven't done much else so far. I mean, they're moving on. Maika Monroe, who played Jay, is going to be playing in the new Independence Day film. She's the replacement for who played the president's daughter in the original.
Is it weird? I spent a lot of the movie trying to figure out if I'd bang her or not.
It's. Are you talking about in the context of the film or just in general?
In general.
Yeah. She's very attractive. All the girls. I like the girl who played Yara. She was really cool. There's just something about the nerdy girl who farts and has a whole statement about the fart before it happens.
I thought that was really weird because it was completely out of left field and a little strange. Now, did it bother me or break the mood of the movie? No, not at all. But it's not often that you see a girl comically farting.
Oh, see, you don't know the women that I hang out with.
No, in a movie.
in a movie, yes. And that's the thing, is that I think that these people felt very realistic. You know, there was no dumb one-liners. There was no out of left field acting. It was, they felt human. They felt like people that I would know or people that I could conceive of knowing or want to hang out with. They didn't just do stupid things. They collectively tried to protect their friend. Even when the guy Greg shows up when they're at the park and he's like, you know, what's going on? And she's like, I have to get out of here. And he goes to take off. She goes, well, are you leaving? He goes, no, I'm just going to get my car. You know, they all gathered to protect one of their own.
Yeah.
And I thought that was nice. And that's something, again, that sets it apart from what most horror movies do. You know, everybody's got to be kind of a caricature of some different type. And I didn't feel like that was what this was. These people felt like friends who grew up together, who grew up in the same neighborhood together. When Paul is asking Jay why she slept with Greg instead of him, she's like, you know, he seemed cool with it. It seemed safe. We had sex already in high school. It wasn't that big of a deal. It just seemed like this was neighborhood kids, you know, 19-year-old, 20-year-old neighborhood kids, but still
neighborhood kids.
And they don't concentrate on too many other people. They never show the face of the mom. Anytime the mom's on there, her face is either distorted or not fully in camera view.
Oh, never thought of that.
They try to keep the things really about these main characters and what they're experiencing, what they see. To me, it's just a brilliant movie. It's easily one of my favorite horror movies.
When I first watched it, I really liked it. Now that we talked about it, I just, the things that I missed or weren't looking for, I guess. I don't know. I like it more now. Thanks, Corey.
It's kind of, you don't need the inside baseball to enjoy it. And that's the thing, is that when I saw it the first time, I was just taken with it by what it was. But when you start to dig down into it and you see all the extra secrets and Easter eggs and things, it builds up a little bit more, which is good and bad. You know, you don't want to ruin the mystery. You just kind of want to enjoy the film and, you know, let yourself guess at the other things. But for the people who want to go down that rabbit hole, I think there's a lot there and it's very fun.
Yeah, I'm really holding out for a sequel, prequel, something, in addition to the story.
I would not mind to see more, and certainly not more from the writer and director who made it. Also, and I wanted to mention this, I loved the soundtrack for this.
I thought you were going to say you love me. I'm like, I love you too, buddy.
I do. I absolutely do. But do I love you like the soundtrack? Maybe a little bit, because I listen to it when I sleep, and I wouldn't mind being cuddled up in your arms. This was from a video game musician known as Disaster Piece. And the director of this, the writer-director of this, really liked his music in a video game, and he went to try to find him to have him make music for the film and talked him into it. And when we were in the theater, other than the fact that it was incredibly loud and was kind of like bearing down on us a lot when we were in there, it's much easier to watch at home. I was totally surprised by how into the music I was. And the music, again, is very timeless and at times evokes kind of like what you listen to in the original Halloween movies. I slept listening to the soundtrack for about 3 weeks after I saw this the first time.
That's fucking weird, but okay.
I do that a lot. I like to, and when I'm taken with the feel of a movie, I did that with the Twin Peaks soundtrack for a couple of years, where I just kind of like totally try to immerse myself in it, and it fucks up my dreams and shit.
I tried doing that with a few things, and then things got a little out of control.
Yeah, that I like the out of control. I do that with John Carpenter's stuff too.
I don't know. I can't get it. If I have a dream in which I feel like I'm not in control, or just, I don't know. I hate waking up and having to think like, oh, you didn't just murder a bunch of people. You're not going to prison. You're good. You're good.
I have a lot of dreams where I urinate.
In the dream?
Yeah, it's weird. I just wanted to say that to see what you would react to.
You don't piss in your bed or anything, right?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I got 2 cats I can blame it on. Hey, so yeah, so It Follows. What do you give it?
4.5 out of 5. I know you're giving it 5 because you're way more into this than I am, but I respect that decision.
Yeah, I mean, I went on IMDb and I saw IMDb had a 6.7 score. I'm like, well, that's bullshit. I gave it a 9 out of the 10 there. I would say 4.5 is perfectly solid.
I remember seeing something a while back where I was like, oh, it has like 87% on Rotten Tomatoes or something, I want to say. And the argument was, well, Rotten Tomatoes gives it an 87%, but all these people say that they hate it. So it must be doing something right.
Yeah, I think some people found it was slow. Some people wanted it to be more contemporary horror.
I thought it did a really good job of like getting to the point and then kind of dragging the point on. It got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way.
Yeah, I never saw a point in there where I was bored or felt like it was just kind of hanging around too long. I think it was a mystery. They were exploring what was going on while it was happening.
At one point, I remember pausing to see how much time was left, and there's a whole hour, and I'm like, how can there still be an hour left? Because they've already like gotten to the point where she's being followed and shit is real. So I wasn't 100% certain how they could make it work, but they did. They did a good job.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was It Follows was a great movie. Go see it.
Absolutely.
If you have nothing else to say, I think we can let the people go on with their day.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for spending your time with us, and we look forward to a magical 2016 with all of you. Corey, I know you being the executive vice president of social media, where can people find you?
I tried using the new Twitter, Podcast of Terror, at Podcast of Terror. I don't know what I'm doing with it, so otherwise you can go to about.me/Captain Temerity and find places where I also don't hang out.
You start seeing cat pictures on our podcast, that's just Corey not knowing what he's doing.
Yeah.
But you can find me at Matt the Lifeguard on Twitter and Instagram. And I have a feeling I will be the one doing the Podcast of Terror on Instagram because cat pictures. So thanks again, and we will see everyone soon.
Stay scary, everybody.
Stop this shit.